how does $8,000 for a couple of weeks' work sound? Well, this is the kind of money you could make if you took part in a clinical trial. You've probably heard of them, even thought about applying. But Dr. Wynne is a researcher at New Zealand Clinical Research and joins us this morning. Morena, Dr. Wynne, thank you so much for being with us this morning. So tell me, can we break it down and can we just talk about a clinical trial and what is it?
A clinical trial is where we study a new medicine. We're looking for the safety and effectiveness of that new medicine. And in the early stages of our clinical trial, we would want to test it in healthy people, and only later in its development would we be testing it in patients.
OK, so I've applied, and then can you tell me what's actually involved with these trials?
Sure. Well, there are a number of different ways that we test a medicine depending on the nature of it, how it's given by injection or by mouth. But we might ask a participant to come and spend a few nights with us and then have a number of outpatient visits to check on their well-being. Some studies we have participants in-house staying continuously for 16 nights, and that's, you've talked about the compensation, so the greater the commitment, the higher the compensation.
So do you get a lot of people applying for these trials? What are numbers like?
Well, the biggest trial we've done in New Zealand has been over 600 participants, healthy young men and women. Most trials are smaller than that, but there are a lot of New Zealanders who have participated in clinical trials.
Asking for a friend, Daniel Whaitawa, how safe are these trials?
Yeah, well, he'd be pretty good material. Just the sort of guy that we're looking for, healthy, young, fit.
Oh, what? Sorry?
No, I'm listening. Keep going. Don't let Jenny May's laugh stop you. I'm still serious here. Keep going.
Yeah, so Daniel, when it comes to talking about safety, that's why many overseas companies come to do studies in New Zealand, because we have a really robust regulatory system. MedSafe, Ministry of Health assess every clinical trial, a wonderful ethics system. But most importantly, the doctors and nurses in the clinical trial situation assess the safety as well. And any clinical trial that we do at New Zealand Clinical Research has to be safe enough for my kids to go in. There's no higher bar than that. So, Daniel, you're across the line on that. I'll text my number through at the end of the program, Ryan.
Brilliant. Hey, at the beginning of this interview, in the introduction, I talked about the possibility of there being money for participants. And as you said, the longer that you're in it, then the compensation becomes, somewhat higher. And I wonder about that for some people, and whether you're able to weed them out at all that will apply and continue to keep applying because, it seems to be somewhat of easy money, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you might just have to lie on your back, put your arm out and have a blood test taken. That's a common fallacy. We require a little bit more of that. We collect urine as well. So it's not just easy, but we've got to make sure that people in New Zealand are not professional clinical trialists. In the States, people do that. It's just not safe, and that's our primary concern for participants in clinical trials. And these are the healthy people that we're talking about, Jenny May. I mean, patients later on in the development of a medicine, and we need patients as well to be in clinical trials. For example, we got some great new medicines for diabetes, cholesterol, people who are overweight, fungal toenails. What we're doing in this country, we fly below the radar. I don't know what Daniel's toenails was. That what you were looking at him for? But
Gee, Dr. Chris, come on.
I was just thinking about that.
You just said I was healthy.
I think I could probably nominate a few people for that trial. Dr. Wynne, just before we go, I wonder, what's the most rewarding trial that you've ever been part of?
Okay, so the rewarding I'm talking about is not money, Jenny May. It's the difference that we've made. And New Zealand has some wonderful researchers, Professor Ed Gain and Catherine Steadman, who were part of a program that cured hepatitis C. Millions of people around the world are cured of this disease, which is a really serious liver disease. And one tablet a day for 8 weeks And the first time that medicine was ever given to humans was in New Zealand with those researchers. It's a wonderful story and deeply rewarding.
Dr. Chris Wynne, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Dr. Chris Wynne, researcher at New Zealand Clinical Research here in Aotearoa. Thank you.